Janarandana Dana Braja Janadan Jashodanandana Braja Janarandana Braja Janadan Jamanatira Vana Chadi Natir Avanacha Jamanatira Vana Chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Braja Janarandana Dana Braja Janadan Jashodanandana Braja Janarandana Jamana Tira Vanachadi Tira Vanacha Jamana Tira Vanachadi Tira Vanacha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivijagacharya Astatarasata Sisimadas Divine Grace Isi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanandi. One of our special days, many special days in our Vaishnav calendar, observing the appearance day of Lord Nityananda. The plan for this morning is just to read some sections and then discuss sections from Chaitanya Bhagavat. This is Lord Nityananda's childhood pastimes. The Chaitanya Bhagavat was written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and a little detail, it originally was called Chaitanya Charitamrita, but the name got changed by the Vaishnavas later, and the reason it got changed is Vrindavan Das Thakur, being a disciple of Lord Nityananda and being understood by the Vaishnavas as the Vyasa Dev of Gaura Lila. So as Vyasa Dev wrote Bhagavad Purana, so it got renamed Chaitanya Bhagavat, instead of Krishna Bhagavat, Chaitanya Bhagavat. And then chronologically later, like a generation later, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote the entire life of Lord Chaitanya once again, and it's filled with philosophy, filled with high philosophy. Prabhupada has helped us to understand how high by saying it's the postgraduate study. Undergraduate, graduate, postgraduate. Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So lots and lots of details of philosophical understandings, reaching the same conclusions as Bhagavad-Gita and Bhagavatam, but just far more detailed because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna and Lord Nityananda is Balaram, and many, many, many understandings about these two forms of the Lord. That's Krishnadas. Kaviraj, he was Kaviraj, very learned, the king of learned personalities, and therefore he was requested to compile Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vrindavan Das Thakur just did spontaneously, and his writing is like that. It's quite spontaneous. He's not writing for a non-devotee audience or doubtful people. Krishna Das Kaviraj was writing for everybody, devotees, non-devotees, and people on the fence. He was giving compelling philosophical, scriptural referenced understandings of things. Vrindavan Das didn't bother. He just wrote whatever from his heart, and it's like that. So it's a little, if you to understand, well, why this and why that, he doesn't explain. He didn't even attempt to explain. He's very much, he was a disciple, a Diksha disciple of Lord Nityananda, and a great lover of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. He wrote a separate book, besides Chaitanya Bhagavat. He wrote a separate book on the life of Lord Nityananda, Nityananda Charitamrita, as Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nityananda Charitamrita. But this one got changed to Chaitanya Bhagavat. So this is mainly from Chaitanya Bhagavat, describing the childhood pastimes of Lord Nityananda. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is an ocean of mercy. All glories to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is the friend of those who are ignorant of the goal of life. All glories to He who is the life, wealth, and soul of Sri Advaita Acharya. All glories to He who is the shelter of Srivas and Gadadhar. All glories to Lord Vishvambar, son of Sachi and Jagannath. All glories to the devotees who are the beloved associates of the Lord. That's an expanded version of Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, that mantra. On the order of Lord Chaitanya, Sri Anantadev had already appeared in Radhadesh and was engaged in various pastimes. That's Lord Nityananda. Anantadev. So we know from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Ananta is an expansion of Sankarshan. And Nityananda is that same Lord, an expansion of Sankarshan or Balaram. His father's name was Hadai Ojha, and his mother was Padmavati. Sri Nityananda Prabhu appeared in the village of Ekachakra as the Lord of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. From his childhood, Lord Nityananda was sober, intelligent, and the abode of all good qualities. His charming loveliness defeated that of millions of cupids. The entire district of Radhadesh was filled with auspiciousness and devoid of famine and poverty from the time of his birth. The day that Lord Gaurachandra appeared in Navadvip in Radhadesh, Lord Nityananda roared loudly. His roar spread throughout innumerable universes, and people of the entire world were practically rendered unconscious. Some people said it was a thunderbolt, while others thought it was a great calamity. Other people said, we know the cause. It was the loud roaring of Nityananda Goswami, the Lord of the Gaudiyas. In this way, people had different opinions about what had just happened, but no one could recognize Lord Nityananda due to the influence of his illusory energy. Nityananda remained hidden as he enjoyed childhood pastimes with the other children. The pastimes that the Lord enjoyed with his childhood friends were all related to the activities of Lord Krishna. He and his friends formed an assembly of demigods, and one of them, acting as Mother Earth, offered prayers to them. They then led Mother Earth to the riverbank, and the children all began to offer prayers, because in Ekachakra there's a river. It's a tributary of the Jamuna. And so to go to the shore of the Milk Ocean, they went to the shore of the river. Then one of the boys, hidden from view, loudly declared, I will soon take birth in Mathura, Gokula. One evening, the Lord and his friends enacted the marriage of Vasudeva and Devaki. Then, late one night, when everyone slept, they made a prison and enacted the birth of Lord Krishna. They created a Gokula, and Krishna was taken there and exchanged with Mahamaya, thereby tricking King Kamsa. Another time, they dressed someone as Putana, and someone climbed on her chest to suck her breast. One day, Lord Nityananda and his boyfriends made a Shakata Sura, right? Or handcart out of reeds, and then broke it. Another day, the Lord and his friends stole from the houses of the neighboring cowherd men. The boys never left Nityananda's association to go home, but continued sporting with him day and night. The children's parents did not complain. Rather, they would affectionately embrace Nityananda. They said, we have never seen such transcendental sports. How does this child know so many of Krishna's pastimes? One day, the Lord made snakes out of leaves and then took his friends to the water. One of them jumped into the water and remained inert there. Later, the Lord brought him back to consciousness. Another day, the Lord and his friends went to Talavan, where they killed Dhenukasura and then ate tal fruits. Nityananda and his childhood friends went into the fields and enjoyed various pastimes, such as the killing of Bakasura, Agasura, and Vatsasura. In the afternoon, the Lord and his associates returned home, blowing buffalo horns. One day they enjoyed the pastime of lifting Govardhan Hill. On another day they created a Vrindavan, wherein they enjoyed various sports. One day they enacted Krishna's pastimes of stealing the gopis' clothes, and another day they enacted his meeting the wives of the Brahmanas. Another day one boy dressed as Akrura and took Krishna and Balaram to Kamsa's capital. As Nityananda cried in the mood of the gopis, it appeared to his friends that a river was flowing from his eyes. Due to the influence of Vishnu's illusory energy, no one could recognize Nityananda as he enjoyed pastimes with his friends. In this way, Nityananda and his friends imitated the pastimes of the various incarnations. One day, Nityananda dressed like Vamana and went to cheat Bali Maharaj out of his kingdom, which covered the three worlds. Someone played the role of Shukracharya, who forbid Bali from giving the 3 steps. After accepting the gift, the Lord placed his last step on the head of Bali. Goes on. Vrindavan Das just doesn't mind. One day, Lord Nityananda enacted the pastime of building a bridge across the ocean, with the boys playing the role of monkeys. They cut castor oil plants and made a bridge across the water. Then all the boys exclaimed, "Jai Raghunath!" Nityananda accepted the role of Lakshmana, who angrily went with a bow in his hand to chastise Sugriva. "Oh, king of the monkeys, my lord is in distress. Come quickly, or I'll kill you. How can you sit here enjoying with women while he is lamenting on Malyavan mountain?" Another day, Lord Nityananda spoke in anger to Parshuram. "Oh, Brahmana, I am not at fault. Leave here at once." Lord Nityananda was absorbed in the mood of Lakshmana. The boys, however, could not understand this and thought it was just a game. On another occasion, 5 boys took the role of monkeys, and the Lord took the role of Lakshmana. "Who are you monkeys wandering in the forest?" "I am the servant of Lord Ramachandra. Tell me who you are." They replied, "We are wandering out of fear of Bali. Please take us to Ramachandra. We wish to take the dust of his lotus feet." The Lord embraced them and led them to Ramachandra, whereupon they all fell at his feet. One day the Lord enacted the pastime of killing Indrajit, son of Ravana, and one day in the mood of Lakshmana, he accepted defeat. Someone in the role of Vibhishan was brought before Ramachandra, and Rama performed his abhishek or coronation, installing him as the king of Lanka. One boy said, "I am the mighty Ravana. Now I am releasing the Shakti Shela weapon. Stop it if you can, Lakshmana." Saying this, the boy threw a lotus flower at Lord Nityananda, and in the mood of Lakshmana, he fell to the ground. After the Lord, in the mood of Lakshmana, fell unconscious, all the boys tried in vain to revive him. When they found no symptom of life remaining in the body of Nityananda, they all held their heads and began to cry. The Lord's father and mother came running there and observed that there was no sign of life in their son. They also fell to the ground unconscious. Everyone who saw this tragedy was struck with wonder. As the boys described the entire incident, someone said, "I understand why he's unconscious. Previously, one great actor played the role of Dasarath, and when he heard that Ram had left to the forest, he left his body." Someone else said, "There is a boy dressed as Hanuman. If he gives him medicine, he'll be cured." Before the incident, the Lord had instructed his friends, "When I fall unconscious, you should all gather around me and cry. After a while, send Hanuman for some medicine. I will recover when he puts the medicine to my nose." When the Lord fell unconscious in his own mood, the boys were all bewildered. Because they were so confused, they could not remember the Lord's instructions. They simply cried loudly, "Oh, brother, please get up." But when the boys heard the people's comments, they remembered Lord Nityananda's instruction, and the boy dressed as Hanuman immediately went for the medicine. So he went to the mountain, got the Sanjeevani medicine. Then one boy, playing the role of a doctor, remembered Lord Ram as he held the medicine to Lakshman's nose. At that very moment, Lord Nityananda regained his consciousness, upon which his parents and others there smiled in relief. Hadai Pandit embraced his son, and all the boys became overjoyed. Everyone asked, "Dear son, where have you learned all this?" The Lord smiled and said, "These are all my pastimes." In his early childhood, the Lord was most attractive. No one wanted to let him go from their laps. Everyone had more affection for Nityananda than for their own sons. But no one could recognize him due to the influence of the Lord's illusory energy in this way. From the beginning of his childhood, Nityananda had no happiness other than enjoying the pastimes of Lord Krishna. All of his friends left their parents to constantly sport with the company of Nityananda. I offer my repeated obeisances at the feet of those boys who enjoyed the association of Lord Nityananda. Who can describe the pastimes of Lord Ananta? They are only manifest to one who has received his mercy. Lord Nityananda remained at home like this for 12 years. Thereafter, he left for visiting the holy places. He traveled to the holy places for the next 20 years. So 20 plus 12. How much is that? 32. That's when he met Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya was around 20. Because he took sannyas when he was 24. 32 and 20. 12 years difference. Please listen to this narration of the Adikanda of the holy places visited by Lord Nityananda, who only the most degraded sinful atheists would dare criticize. That Lord who delivered the entire universe is nothing but an ocean of mercy. Only by his mercy can we know the truth. The Lord first went to Vakreshwara. He went alone to Vaidhanath, Lord Chaitanya. In fact, the glories of Lord Chaitanya are manifest through him. He went to Gaya, and then to Lord Shiva's abode, Kashi, where the Ganges flows towards the north. Seeing the Ganges, Lord Nityananda was greatly pleased. He took bath and drank some water, yet his grief was not mitigated. In the month of Magh, January, February, the Lord took an early morning bath at Prayag. Then he went to Mathura, his former birthplace. The Lord sported in the waters of the Yamuna at Vishram Ghat, and thereafter he went with great interest to see Govardhan. Vishram Ghat is a similar place to where Lord Chaitanya first visited when he visited Mathura before going to Vrindavan. Vishram Ghat has that significant, spiritual significance. Vishram Ghat in Mathura. The Lord visited each of the 12 forests, beginning with Vrindavan. When he saw the house and courtyard of Nanda Maharaj at Gokula, he sat down and cried profusely. Nityananda offered his obeisances to Madan Gopal, and then went to Hastinapura, the abode of the Pandavas. Seeing the home of those devotees, Nityananda began to cry. The local people, however, could not understand the Lord's sentiments due to their lack of devotion. As Nityananda remembered Balaram's glorious activities in Hastinapur, he exclaimed, "Oh, Haladar, please save me," and then offered obeisances. Thereafter, Nityananda went to Dwarka, where he joyfully took bath in the ocean. Next, he went to Siddhapura, the place of Lord Kapila. Then he went to Matsyatirtha, where he distributed foodstuffs at a festival. Lord Shiva then visited Shiva Kanchi and the adjoining Vishnu Kanchi. He laughed when he saw the two groups of followers quarreling there. Nityananda also visited Kurukshetra, Prithu, Daka, Bindu Sarova, Prabhas, and Sudarshana Tirtha. He also visited the great holy place called Chitta Kupa. He also went to Vishala, Brahma Tirtha, and Chakra Tirtha. The Lord visited Prati Srota, where the Saraswati flows in the opposite direction. The most magnanimous Nityananda then went to Naimisharanya. He then visited the city of Ayodhya, where he cried upon seeing the birthplace of Lord Ram. Nityananda then visited the Chandala Guhaka's kingdom, where he fell unconscious. Simply by remembering the activities of the Chandala Guhaka, Nityananda lost consciousness in ecstasy for 3 days. Thereafter, the Lord took bath in the Sarayu and Kaushiki rivers. Then he went to the ashram of Pulascha Rishi. Lord Nityananda took bath in Gomati, Gandaki, and Shona rivers. Then he climbed to the top of Mahendra mountain. There he offered obeisances to Parashuram. Nityananda also visited Haridwar, the source of the Ganges. The Lord took bath in the Pampa, Bhima, Rati, Godavari, Venva, and Vipasha rivers. Okay, so he went to a lot of other places. Pages and pages. Lord Nityananda then visited the residence of the Buddhists. When he arrived there, he saw they were all sitting together. The Lord asked a question, but no one replied. Becoming angry, the Lord kicked them in the head. But they all simply smiled and ran away. Nityananda thus fearlessly continued his travels through the forest and so forth. The Lord had no control of his body due to his ecstatic love for Krishna. Sometimes he cried, sometimes he laughed. Who can understand his ecstatic moods? The fearless, ecstatic Nityananda traveled in this way without fear of anyone. As the Lord traveled in this way by the will of Providence, he met Sri Madhavendra Puri. Now, this narration is going to describe a different relationship with Madhavendra Puri, although the author is the same. We heard yesterday evening, and again this evening, from Nityananda Charitamrita, that Lakshmipati Tirtha was the guru of Nityananda. So this is likely going to say something different. The body of Sri Madhavendra Puri is imbued with ecstatic love of God, and his followers partake of those same sentiments. He did not relish anything other than loving sentiments of Lord Krishna, who enjoyed his pastimes in the body of Madhavendra Puri. What more can I say about the devotion of he who was the spiritual master of Advaita Acharya? When Nityananda saw Madhavendra Puri, he was immediately stunned in ecstatic love and fell to the ground unconscious. Seeing Nityananda, Madhavendra Puri forgot himself and fell unconscious. Sri Gaurachandra has repeatedly stated that Madhavendra Puri is the original root of worship and ecstatic love. After they both fell unconscious, the disciples, headed by Ishwara Puri, all began to cry. After some time, when they regained external consciousness, they held each other's neck and began to cry. Overwhelmed in ecstatic love for Krishna, they then rolled in the sand and cried out loudly. Tears of love flowed like rivers from their eyes and soaked Mother Earth, thereby making her feel gratified. Shivering, shedding tears, hair standing on end, and other ecstatic symptoms appeared without end. For Lord Chaitanya personally resides in their bodies. Lord Nityananda said, "Whatever pilgrimage I have performed till now has today borne fruit. Today I have seen the lotus feet of Madhavendra Puri. By seeing his ecstatic love of God, my life has become successful." Madhavendra Puri embraced Nityananda and was unable to reply, for his throat was choked up with love. Sri Madhavendra Puri was so pleased that he was unable to release Nityananda from his embrace. Ishwar Puri, Brahmananda Puri, and the other disciples of Madhavendra Puri all felt attachment for Lord Nityananda. They had previously come across many sadhus, but they had never before seen such devotional symptoms. They always felt distressed while conversing with materialistic people, so they decided to travel through the forests. Now, with this meeting, their distress was mitigated, and their love for Krishna was aroused. For some days, Nityananda traveled with Madhavendra Puri and relished discussing topics of Lord Krishna. The two forgot whether it was day or night in their absorption of ecstatic love. Although they remained together for a number of days, they considered that time hardly a moment. Who can know all the incidents that took place between Nityananda and Madhavendra Puri? Only Krishna can know. Madhavendra Puri was unable to give up the association of Nityananda, so he constantly remained with him. Madhavendra said, "I have never seen such ecstatic love. Wherever such love of God is found, that is my favorite place. I know Krishna has bestowed his mercy on me because he has given me the association of Nityananda. Whenever Nityananda's association is found, that place is most sacred and completely transcendental. If one hears the name of Nityananda, he will certainly attain the lotus feet of Krishna Chandra. If one has the slightest envy for Nityananda, he is never favored by Krishna, even if he appears to be a devotee." In this way, Madhavendra Puri day and night exhibited affection for Nityananda with his speech and activities. Nityananda considered Madhavendra to be his guru and nothing else. It doesn't say Diksha Guru. Commentary. This is Bhaktisiddhanta's commentary. Some people say that according to the accepted and listed disciplic succession of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, Sri Nityananda Prabhu was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, and some people say that he was a disciple of Sri Lakshmipati Tirtha, which means that he was a godbrother of Sri Madhavendra Puri. And then he quotes a verse from Bhakti Ratnakar. Bhakti Ratnakar is a book that gives histories of the followers of Lord Chaitanya, primarily after his departure, those devotees and their activities. So he's quoting from there, gives the Sanskrit. I worship Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is very dear to Sri Lakshmipati. He increased the happiness of the Madhva Sampradaya and was always affectionate to the devotees. Unquote. The consideration of God brotherhood is not separate from the consideration of Guru, for the same reason that even though there is a difference between a historical incident and the description of that incident, both point to the same thing. The bogus Guru Sampradaya that follows the Smartas does not maintain a cordial relationship with the pure Vaishnavas, but have learned to illegitimately protect their selfish pride. Whoever hears these topics regarding the meeting between Nityananda Prabhu and Madhavendra Puri will certainly achieve the wealth of love for Krishna. So here we go again. Is it this or is it that? We've been through this in prior visits, and some say this and some say that. Minimally, he accepted Madhavendra Puri as Shiksha Guru. And beyond that, it's not so important, this or that. Vrindavan Das Thakur writes, he received Diksha, mantra Diksha, from Lakshmipati Tirtha. So for me, that's good enough. Bhakti Siddhanta is saying some people say this, some people say that. Okay. After visiting various holy places in this way, Lord Nityananda returned. So he went South India, Setubanda, and Puri, and he was moving around. Very similar, no surprise, very similar to Balaram. Right? Balaram went on pilgrimage. While Kurukshetra battle was going on, he refused to take part. He went on pilgrimage. Not to become purified, but to sanctify those places. Nityananda did the same. After visiting various holy places in this way, Lord Nityananda returned again to Mathura. He continually stayed in Vrindavan and became so absorbed in Krishna that he did not know whether it was day or night. He did not eat, but occasionally drank some milk whenever someone offered it to him. Lord Nityananda knew very well that Lord Gaurachandra was living incognito in Navadvip. Incognito means he wasn't showing his pastimes as a devotee, he was showing his pastimes of scholarship, not devotee. He thought to himself, quote, I will go serve Lord Gauranga when he manifests his opulences. Thinking in this way, Lord Nityananda did not go to Navadvip, but remained at Mathura. O Lord Nityananda is omnipotent, he did not distribute devotional service to the Lord at that time. When Lord Gaurachandra manifests his opulence, then on his order, he would begin to distribute devotional service. The servants and associates of Lord Chaitanya did not do anything without his instruction, but this does not diminish their glories in the least. We have maybe another 4 or 5 minutes, and then we're done. So he's getting ready to go to Vrindavan. Just see for yourself how Nityananda Prabhu has blessed the people of this universe with the treasure of devotional service. Lord Nityananda is the foremost devotee of Lord Chaitanya, for the glories of Lord Chaitanya always reside on his tongue. All glories to Lord Nityananda, who is the first manifestation of Lord Chaitanya. The glories of Lord Chaitanya become manifest by his mercy. One becomes attached to Lord Nityananda by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya. And one who knows Nityananda never faces any adversities. Those who wish to cross the ocean of material existence and drown in the ocean of devotional service must worship Lord Nityananda. Someone said, Nityananda is just like Balaram. Another person said, he is most dear to Sri Chaitanya. Someone may consider Nityananda a sannyasi. Some may consider him a devotee. Someone may consider him to be a jnani. They may say whatever they like. Even if Nityananda was a most insignificant servant of Lord Chaitanya, still I would keep his lotus feet in my heart. Therefore, I kick on the head of any sinful person who disregards the glories of Lord Nityananda and dares to criticize him. Anyone who follows Nityananda without finding fault in him will surely attain the shelter Sri Gaurachandra. And here comes some more of his spontaneous bhakti. When will that day come when I will see Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda surrounded by their devotees? Let me serve Lord Gaurachandra under the instructions of Lord Nityananda, who is my worshipable Lord in all respects. I desire to study Srimad Bhagavatam under Sri Nityananda Sarup, birth after birth. All glories to the Supreme Lord Gauranga. You have given me and then taken from me the association of Lord Nityananda. Still, I beg for your mercy so that my mind may remain absorbed in his and your lotus feet. Lord Nityananda is your greatest devotee. No one can attain him without your sanction. Whoever hears these descriptions of Nityananda Sarup's visit to the holy places will attain the treasure of divine love. So congratulations, Prabhus. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Now, somebody asked me a question the other day. How come we don't hear or know of temples of Gaur-Nitai or Lord Chaitanya or the Panchatattva throughout India? One answer is Lord Chaitanya is the Chana avatar or hidden avatar. And for that reason, because he's not specifically mentioned in the scriptures, people don't know of him because he's not specifically mentioned in the scriptures. Indirectly, yes, but not. Like I was in our morning class, we've been discussing Uddhava Gita, Krishna's discussions with Uddhava. And in the course of the discussions with Uddhava, Krishna begins telling of a story of King Yadu speaking to an Avadhuta Brahmin. And it starts with chapter 7 of Canto 11. And by chapter 9, the rabbit comes out of the hat. That is, the Avadhuta Brahmin is Dattatreya. Confirmed, at least, not specifically in the sloka, but Sanatan Goswami, Sridhar Swami, and Jiva Goswami all confirm. And Vishwanath Chakravarti. So, and it's based upon a verse from Canto 2, Chapter 7, without the detail. So we don't hear so much about Dattatreya, but at least his name is mentioned. And he gave a certain strenuous teaching. And the strenuous teaching is largely detachment. But there are some persons who, there are I'm going over here, we're going to come back to Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. But some interpret that Dattatreya's teachings were impersonal. But there are many Vaishnavas, those of you that have visited our Juhu temple. How many here have visited the Juhu Bombay temple? So around the outside of the temple floor, there's dioramas of forms of the Lord and pastimes of the Lord. So one of those is Dattatreya. And in Maharashtra, apparently, and certainly in Gujarat, Dattatreya is a worshipable form of the Lord. But not all over India, not well known like, Ramchandra or Krishna particularly, or Lakshmi Narayan particularly. Those are, maybe the top three. And Dattatreya is not so well known. But Lord Chaitanya is even, as far as being mentioned in the Vedas, spoken of less. By name, he's spoken of in terms of the Yuga avatar and so forth and so on. We know the verses. So that's one reason. But another reason has to do with those that do know, that the followers of Lord Chaitanya do know, the preaching mission was lax. Bhaktisiddhanta certainly picked it up. and prior to him his father, Bhaktivinoda, picked it up. But in between Lord Chaitanya and the period where Gaudiya Vaishnavism was flourishing, primarily in Vrindavan and certain other places in India, where the followers of Lord Chaitanya went and propagated his teachings. Because the practices had waned, the preaching had waned, things were not so apparent. Bhaktisiddhanta uses this phrase, Vaishnava Vishva Raja Sabha. It's another, nice Sanskrit way of saying International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Vaishnava Vishva Raja Sabha. So Vaishnava Sabha with the adjective in this world. So he used that term when he was in high school. Bhaktisiddhanta, saying that this is the association of devotees goes throughout the world, but sometimes a river, for some period of time, it may not be on the surface of the land, it may flow under the ground, but it's there. And then sometimes it's on the surface of the land. Using that example, worldly example, sometimes the Vishva Rajasabha of Vaishnavas is not prominent, and sometimes it becomes prominent, like a river may become prominent or not so prominent. And he Bhaktisiddhanta, wanted to restore, make it prominent. And he wanted to do that based upon the inspiration, one of the reasons, the inspiration from his father, who wanted to do that, because that was Lord Chaitanya's inspiration. And then Srila Prabhupada made it manifest. Now that it's being made manifest, I just read something. It's some town in Maharashtra that has 10,000 people. That's not a big city. But they just opened an ISKCON temple with Gauratai deities. What to speak of all the other places that's expanding and expanding, and is expanding because of the spirit, Bhaktivinoda Thakur to Bhaktisiddhanta to Prabhupada, and then to his followers. There's a structure for us to hang our devotion on or engage in service to that structure. And so now more people are hearing of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. But just like last night, the family, nice family, but they had never heard. And they weren't like, wait a minute, I never heard this before. They weren't like that. And so many, many, many people, myself included, and probably all of us in the room included, from childhood, we never heard Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda. And why? Because it wasn't propagated. So it's very ecstatic hearing Lord Nityananda's pastimes. Now, why don't more people know about it? It's not being propagated. So what to do? Propagate it. Some devotees involved in this is an ISKCON organizational topic, the GBC Strategic Planning Team has dedicated a whole month to having senior devotees from all around the world speak on selected topics. They select the topics and ask speakers to speak. And it's well planned, well organized, fantastic. And so, that will make, by sound vibration, people will come to know what, it's very, very sweet and very wonderful, but previously they didn't know. Like this family last night and so many other people that were attending the Zoom class, they didn't know. That's okay. We all didn't know. And by hearing, then depending upon faith, then we'll have some taste in these wonderful topics. Like the section that we read. Those that had no faith in Lord Nityananda, they'll never understand. That was one of the narrations we heard last night. We're going to hear it again tonight because it's important. Krishnadas Kaviraj told his brother, because you don't have faith in Lord Nityananda, although you have faith in Lord Chaitanya, you don't have faith in Lord Nityananda, you're going to fall down. And he fell down, his brother. Krishnadas, so we have a brother or a sister or something. And we don't wish anything but well for our brothers and sisters, biological and otherwise. The extended parts and parcels of Krishna brothers. It's just singing the glories. Vrindavan Das Thakur wants the association of Lord Nityananda and those, because he's always singing the glories of Lord Chaitanya. So those who are in that position, singing the glories of the personality of Godhead, like Lord Nityananda was doing, the pastimes of Krishna, the pastimes of Ramchandra, the pastimes of Vamana, and so forth and so on. Those who are dedicated to this Namanta Eva verse again, dedicated to the messages of the personality of Godhead. That's good association. Let us become good association and seek good association. And come what may, the purifying influence upon us and others it's going to be there. And we all need purification. Okay, so it's 8:26. We'll take a little bit of time on this appearance day of Lord Nityananda to see if there's some discussion, something in the room or something online.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. A couple of questions. One is about the Chana avatar.
Nityananda avatar.
Chana avatar.
Chaitanya avatar.
Chana avatar.
Chana avatar,
hidden.
okay.
So, you mentioned that it is like hidden. It's not directly mentioned in the scriptures, but indirectly.
By name. Yeah.
So, we hear, few references from Prabhupada about the indirect references of Lord Chaitanya's.
About the which of Lord Chaitanya? Speak slowly.
Indirect references.
Okay.
I don't remember hearing anything about indirect references about Lord Nityananda. Are there any references?
It's implied. If you like, I have in my computer somewhere, there's like pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of the compiling of the indirect. You can find it online. There's tons of it. Now, specifically, Lord Nityananda, it's implied. When Krishna comes, Balaram comes.
Yes.
Okay.
So, that generally any of the incarnations, we need to hear to understand that the glories are it's a real incarnation. So the same thing applies to Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda also.
Yes.
So the reason that it mentioned Chana avatar is just because it's not directly referenced. That is the only
That's
reason.
The meaning of Chana avatar.
Okay.
So it's Krishna himself coming as a devotee. It's not broadcast, he's Krishna himself, because he's in the mood and performing pastimes of his devotee of Krishna. for that reason.
Yes. My other question is about Lord Nityananda, spiritual master Lakshmipati. So the three generations, Madhavendra Puri and Ishwara Puri, who is the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya,
Yes.
and Madhavendra Puri, the spiritual master of Advaita Acharya.
Yes.
I mean, by age-wise, Lakshmipati might be very, very elder to
Yes.
Lord Nityananda.
Yes.
S-
Yes.
I mean, I was just trying to understand the age difference between them. So is it-
There's something that I've learned. While the age, in ISKCON, it's not that there's disciples in the presence of their initiating guru don't initiate. That's historically, that wasn't the standard. Bhakti Siddhanta established, Prabhupada established, so we follow. But prior to that, it's not necessarily what was going on, in fact. Without going into details, there's lots of examples.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So you mentioned that when Lord Nityananda went for pilgrimage when
Fix the volume. Keep
When-
speaking.
when he was 12 years old,
Yes.
and then the age difference is also 12 years.
Yes, correct.
So Lord was not there when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born?
Lord Nityananda was still on tour. He was moving around to holy places until he was 32.
So is there any reason why he didn't
Yeah. Yes.
meet Prabhu?
Here's the reason. He wanted, we read it, he wanted to join Lord Chaitanya when it was appropriate. That was appropriate is when he started his devotee pastimes. Because prior to that, it was not. He was just like Mr. Super Scholar, Nimai Pandit, defeating everybody left and right and challenging them. And there was a reason for that. I mean, there's many reasons, but one of the reasons was later he became a great lover of the gopis, but it's not because he was weak-minded, because some people criticize, oh, you bhaktas, you have weak minds. That's why you go to this bhakti process. You're not capable of understanding higher things, and so you go to the sentimental thing because you're just not very intelligent. So he just, he had pastimes to show, not so lengthy. He was always Lord Chaitanya, but he was in the role of Nimai Pandit, arguing, wrangling, defeating, challenging. It was a pastime. So Nityananda didn't join him during that time because it would have spoiled the whole, Nityananda, it wouldn't have worked because Nityananda was never in that scholarly pastime. He was always this ecstatic Brahmin boy or young man, an ecstatic devotee, Vaishnava. So it was to not interfere with Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. He stayed away. But as soon, because he knew, as soon as he began his devotee pastimes, immediately he went. Okay? Okay. Online? Oh, you have something. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I don't have any questions. I just want to share this appreciation. Just last night we were reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. In our daily reading, we took a break from Srimad Bhagavatam and reading Chaitanya Charitamrita for this month, just the translations. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's glorification of Vrindavan Das Thakur and Chaitanya Bhagavat, we were so eager and feeling like it. How would it be to hear from Chaitanya Bhagavat? Just last night, and we were like, we don't know when we would get that opportunity, but we will just, pray and look forward for it. And here it is, just this morning you were reading, I was just, it's just so wonderful reciprocation of Lord Nityananda.
There's many volumes. We're just reading a little section.
This question is from Snehavalli Mataji. A small clarification. These places of pilgrimage which Lord Nityananda visited, are these the places he visited with the sannyasi who took him away from Hadai Pandit?
It doesn't mention traveling with the sannyasi. It doesn't mention separating from the sannyasi. It just mentioned he visited those places. The spotlight goes away from the sannyasi that left Ekachakra with him, and then the spotlight goes to, this is the biographer, Vrindavan Das Thakur. It doesn't even mention the sannyasi thereafter. So the answer is, we don't know.
This question is from Radha. Did Nityananda and Chaitanya know that they are going to meet?
They're going to meet, of course. They're omniscient. There's never a time that they don't know.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
This is not an inquiry about this class, but when Narottam Das Thakur had that festival in K3,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he mentioned like 5 or 6 deities there.
Say it again. Pretty sure what?
He had 5 or 6 deities.
6.
Yeah. Have you seen any of these deities?
I've seen photographs, but I haven't seen the deities. But we're going to be discussing that tonight. But I don't have photos. I'll see if I can find photos of the deities. You spend some time, see if you can find photos of those deities. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.